Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jen Trepic, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. This week, we're talking about green beans. And okay, I get it. Green beans are the opposite of exciting. But I think it's more because when we think of them, we think of the canned green beans that were probably more gray than green and this salty, mushy food, or green bean casserole, right? And I feel like the food world has really just done a disservice to the green bean. So, we'll briefly review the nutrition and then we'll get into how to pick them and make them so that they're more interesting and more delicious so we can add them into our repertoire. So first, green beans or string beans, same. They are packed with nutrition. So they give us protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and the benefits are really all sort of tie into longevity, right? Definitely a win here. So when we look at the nutrition, a cup of green beans has about 32 calories, 2 grams of protein, 0 fat, 6 grams of carbs, of which we have 2 grams of fiber and 2 grams of sugar. So on the vitamin front, we get about 12 milligrams of vitamin C. Many of us think about vitamin C for our immune health, and it's also involved in producing collagen and protecting our skin from oxidative stress, so especially in the summer. Vitamin C is an antioxidant. I always think of it too as nature's antihistamine. So love the vitamin C in the green beans. They also give us vitamin A or retinoids, which support immune health, skin health, vision health, and even reproduction. In a cup of raw green beans, we get 690 IUs or international units of vitamin A. These are really, I think, the big ones, but your cup of raw green beans also has vitamin K, a little thiamine, niacin, B6, and vitamin E. On the minerals front, we talked a lot about minerals in our episode on hydration, but minerals are critical for metabolism and bones and healing. So a cup of raw green beans gives you 37 milligrams of calcium, about 1 milligram of iron, 25 milligrams of magnesium, 38 milligrams of phosphorus, 211 milligrams of potassium, and about 1/4 milligram of zinc. So all in, we can really benefit from the vitamins, minerals, and the macronutrients from green beans. So let's get into, picking them, making them taste better than the food that you probably avoided as a kid, right? So as I often say, we want to eat seasonally as much as possible. And green bean season is summer to fall. So that's why we're talking about them now. Fresh is ideal. Next best would actually be frozen. And you could even freeze your own, buy them in season and then freeze them yourself. Canned is really not our best option. Canned fruits and vegetables can have a lot of other added ingredients, especially sodium with the green beans. If you are using canned string beans, rinse them really well. I think that's probably the best tip I can give you for canned green beans. If you want to grow them yourself, it's recommended to look for pole or bush varieties. Personally, I have whatever is the opposite of a green thumb. So I'm going to go to the farmer's market and buy them. I am not going to try to grow them. But, maybe that's up your alley. Grow something with your kid. Anyway, when you're shopping, right, we want to look for bright green color on them. We don't want to see any black spots or blemishes. And they should be firm. If you hold one end of it, it should sort of stand, not flop over. You can keep them in the fridge in a plastic bag for about a week, typically. And then when it comes to eating them, you can eat them raw. I think people forget this, and then they cook them to smithereens. Raw green beans also give us, I think, the biggest nutritional bang for the buck, especially if you eat them soon after they're harvested. It's, again, even better. Cooking green beans may deplete the vitamin C and B vitamins, right? Those water-soluble vitamins. And thawing frozen green beans can also deplete their nutrition. So if you're using frozen green beans, just add them frozen to whatever you're making or use a little bit of water and cook them for as short a time as possible. Basically, like, don't thaw them and then cook them. Also, cooking does seem to impact the fat-soluble vitamins A, E, and K. So just keep that in mind, right, as we're looking to kind of expand our repertoire. Maybe raw string beans are a great option. To prep your string beans, just trim the tail end, like the part that has where the bean like attached to the plant, and cut off any soft spots or blemishes, and then wash them. So in our episode with, the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, green beans weren't on the list, but they're about sort of in the middle in terms of how many pesticides are typically found on them. So I know I keep harping on this. I'm a fan of raw string beans. Add them the next time you do like a crudité platter. I think they're really crunchy and can be kind of sweet, actually. My next favorite option is to blanch them. So you boil water, drop them in the boiling water for a few seconds, and then put them directly into ice water. And that actually stops the cooking. This also helps preserve the color. So you could then freeze them blanched. They're also great. You could chop up the blanched ones and add them to a salad if you don't want them totally raw. If you're buying from like a supermarket instead of the farmer's market, you may not want to eat them raw. In this case, they likely ripened not on the vine and they ripened in a truck and were probably sprayed with chemicals to help ripen them. We talked about that a little bit in our episode on glyphosates and stuff. So in those scenarios, raw green beans will be a little higher in lectins, which can cause some indigestion. And so in those cases, just cook them. I mentioned blanching, right, which is cooking them briefly in some boiling water. Don't boil your green beans, right? The surest way to sort of get to the texture that most of us dislike is to boil them to smithereens or to, overcook them. So I think they're best when they still have a little bit of crunch to them. So what that means is like steaming or boiling, like use a fork to poke them at like 3 or 5 minutes. And then even if you turn the burner off, if they're sitting in hot water, they're going to keep cooking. So last piece is like, look at the thickness of them. If you're using the haricot vert variety, which are super thin, they're going to require a lot less time to cook. Some people will saute them, right? You could put them in a pressure cooker. Honestly, any cooking method works. They just don't need a ton of time, whatever method you use. Let's see, typically, I think, adding flavorings and dressings, if you're using vinegar or anything acidic, just wait till the end, like shortly before you serve them. They'll keep their bright color. If you do want to add them, a couple ideas I mentioned, right? Adding cooked or raw string beans to a salad. You could bake them into fries, like, hello, right? Obviously, I'm about the fries. Throw them into soups or stews. Make them as a side dish, right? Even adding them to an existing side dish that maybe is a grain or a pasta. You could pickle them. They're delicious with tomatoes, so even just blanch them or steam them and toss them with grape tomatoes, olive oil, and balsamic vinegar. Roast them with a little Parmesan cheese. It's really like seasoning-wise, again, you can sort of do whatever you want with them, but I sort of think about seasoning with green beans in sort of 2 categories, right? There's the more savory where you could do like mushrooms and onions or nuts, or like the citrusy vinegary thing with like balsamic vinegar or lemon, garlic, olive oil, chilies, liquid aminos for, the soy sauce kind of flavor. You could do like tzatziki and hummus or nutritional yeast for cheesy flavor. Like there are even some recipes that'll do like maple syrup and liquid smoke. So you can really get super creative. The possibilities are endless. Even just, change it up by using yellow or purple string beans, right? So we can now add string beans back into our repertoire. They are far more than the mushy, salty canned string beans of the 1970s and 80s, I think. And it can be a fun way to sort of change things up without having to completely, change our grocery list, right? So Nick, you're a chef. Anything to add?
Green beans with raw green beans with olive oil, tahini, and a little bit of lemon. So good.
Yum.
Yeah, I love tahini. I love tahini and I love crunchy raw green beans.
Same. Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Jen.
Awesome. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Jen Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or really all social media. I'm at Jen Trepeck, JenNTrepeck. So whether on social media or our website, asaladwithasideofries.com, reach out. I want to hear your takeaways, your questions, any ideas you have. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Of course, if you're not already a member, join our membership program by going to glow.fm/saladwithasideofries. This really shows your support for this podcast, this community, but above all, it really supports your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the healthier blackberry basil lemonade, which, like I said, you could turn into a cocktail or a popsicle. And you're getting 20% off your first order from Mli. So until next week, remember that there's a difference between foods that are free of certain ingredients and foods that are actually providing nutritional value. It's really incumbent on each of us as active consumers to look at the labels, dig a little deeper, and make the best choices for ourselves and our families. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform, share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.